Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show. We, of course, here today to talk about our favorite start sits and flex plays for the Week 5 slate. I'm joined, of course, by my good friend, Mike Dickinson, who, hey, listen, Mike, you're back. How you doing?
Good. I'm doing great. Excited to be in Week 5. We finally got some actionable data where we can start to make some decisions. We've been making gut calls kind of these first 4 weeks, but now we're basically a quarter way through the season, and now we got some trends and some data. We know which are good matchups, which are poor matchups, and we're gonna help you set some winning lineups this week.
Yeah, this is also a very interesting time because a lot of the start sit questions we're starting to get in the DFS Army Slack. If you're not a member of DFS Army, I guess I should say go over, become a VIP member. If you want to get one free month, you can go to dfsarmy.com/free offer, I believe, or frig. I'm the worst. Geek's going to just kill me with this. But so I'm going to put the link in the info below. Make sure you check it out. You can get one free month. Figure out what we're doing. Every single week, if you do follow the DFS Army Twitter account, which I highly suggest you do, we're tweeting out winners. Every single week, every single slate, we're having winners. We're having people crushed. Of course, we had the Millie Maker winner in Week 1. So we continue to crush it. But Mike, we're not here to talk about DFS fantasy football. We are here to talk about our favorite flex plays. But just going back to the fact that a lot of our start sit questions are in the Slack are basically, should I start this stud or this highly drafted player, round 4, round 5 type player versus this waiver wire acquisition, this random guy who hasn't done much, but he's Matt Collins, and he's been producing fantasy football points. So those are definitely some of the hardest questions that we have to answer on a weekly basis. But that's why we're here. That's why we get paid the big bucks, Mike, to answer.
You're getting paid? Questions. Son of a bitch.
Well, Hey, listen. Sometimes you're doing the Lord's work, and we just do it for the passion of it. But before we get to the slate, Mike, there's a few things that I do want to talk about because there are some very notable players this week that are going to be missing time. So I would say probably one of the biggest guys that has been a massive disappointment, Kyle Pitts, of course, the tight end for the Atlanta Falcons. He's going to be missing this week because of the hamstring injuries. So be aware of that. Jameis Winston, he's going to miss another week because of the back injury. So Andy Dalton is once again going to get the start. Those New York Giants, they're going to London. They're playing Green Bay this week. Kadarius Toney, Kenny Galladay, Wan'Dale Robinson, all going to be missing this game. So it's going to be rough sledding, I will say. That game is just going to be pure slop. Jahan Dotson, a rookie phenom, been catching touchdowns like they're going out of style. He's going to be missing time. Keenan Allen is going to be missing time. Michael Thomas is going to be missing time. And another sweet, beautiful, one of our favorite rookies, Treylon Burks, is going to be missing time. So some of these players, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of our favorite flex plays. As it pertains to Kyle Pitts, before the show's over, I'm going to talk about some viable streaming tight ends this week because that's been one of the most common questions in the Discord as well, is just what tight ends can we start in place of Kyle Pitts. So we'll get to that first. But Mike, let's not bear the lead. Let's talk about some of your favorite flex plays on the week. Give me your top flex play of the week.
All right, so my top flex play for the week this week, Shane kind of teased it a little bit, but, looking at that Tennessee offense is going to be 3 people. It's going to be Derrick Henry. He's obviously an RB1. He's locked and loaded. It's Ryan Tannehill. Obviously, everything is going to kind of go through him. He's a quarterback. He's not a flex play, but the one guy that I am getting into all my lineups where I have him is Robert Woods. So you look at what he's been doing. He came back a lot earlier than I thought he would. He's back over 70% of the snaps, though. He's going to clearly be running as the number 1. He's got 4 catches in each of the last 3 games. He got the touchdown last week, which kind of bumped him up. And this just kind of feels like he's getting into his groove there in Tennessee. And they are going up. I believe they're going up against Washington this week, and Washington is just not good. They're just you feel bad for him because every year you think they're going to turn it around, but they're just not gonna. Robert Woods is going to see a lot of William Jackson, and William Jackson just stinks out loud. So he's my first flex play this week.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So when you talk about fantasy points allowed per game, William Jackson is allowing 15.2 fantasy points per game, which I don't know. So does Robert Woods pass the eye test for you? Because so far he just hasn't quite looked himself to start the season. But again, he's coming off the ACL injury from last year. Earlier,
I think
that
that
good.
so when I first started getting into fantasy, I got in on the ESPN platform. So by virtue of that, I listened to a lot of ESPN stuff, their podcast. I watched their show, that kind of stuff. And the one thing that TMR always said was that you don't actually have to watch the games. You just need to look at the box score. So even if he doesn't pass the eye test, I think that by virtue of the fact that there's really not anybody else there. I mean, you could have a Nick Westbrook-Akine sighting this week. Kyle Phillips is kind of back a little bit this week, but it seems like they want the passing game to go through Woods. So I think that even if he's 80% of what he was, 75% of what he was, he's still not all the way back. I think that the volume is going to negate any physical deficiency that he has still.
Yeah, you just hope that Tennessee's going to throw more than 25 balls in the game, and that'll actually give Robert Woods an opportunity. But to your point, William Jackson is not that good as a professional NFL quarterback. So I like Robert Woods. We got a question coming in hot. Bali, thank you for tuning in every single week. We love it. We appreciate you. Mike, to you. He needs 2. Drake London, definitely yes.
Yep.
Dubs, maybe. Connor or Hall. Oh, damn. Okay, so this isn't as easy as I thought. So for me, I'm going to have to probably go with Drake London and James Conner would be my choice here. What do you think?
Yeah. For me, it's either Connor or Hall.
As your 2?
No. I'm sorry. No. So definitely London. I'm sorry. London is locked and loaded. No Kyle Pitts. London's going to get fed until he vomits this week.
Yeah.
The second one comes down to either Connor
James Conner or
James
Hall.
Conner or Hall. Yeah. I'm not. I mean,
here's the risk, right?
The Jets have Miami this week. The Cardinals have Philadelphia this week. Philadelphia is stout up front. I think that both those games have the potential to shoot out because Miami's got a bunch of injuries, and Arizona has a bunch of injuries. So it could be that we're looking at some. What are the totals that we're looking at here?
Yeah, so the Arizona game is one of the highest games. Actually, it's the highest game on the slate other than the Monday Nighter.
Yeah.
Where KC is going against Las Vegas, but it's 48.5 is the implied team total, and the Eagles are favored. Their implied team total is 26 points, whereas the Jets going up against Miami, 46 implied team total. So the one thing I would say is that obviously we've seen Breece Hall continue to improve his usage, and he's in PPR leagues like the RB13. I think he's just outside that RB1, which is what a dumpster fire. But the thing, I've been trying to get Hall where I can. Where I have him in leagues, I have people that are starting to send trade offers for him because I think, the writing's on the wall. Michael Carter is a great player, but he was an early season Boone type player. So the question is, do we trust the Jets to actually use Breece Hall how we think they're going to use him? Or do you trust James Conner? So honestly, I'm okay using Hall here, especially if it's a PPR, which it is in this case.
Yeah. And here's the question, James Conner is outside the top. He's RB29 in PPR right now. He's almost outside the top 30. So it's all kind of laid out in front of us. Conner has been very touchdown dependent. I mean, he had the touchdown in week 1, and the last 3 weeks, week 2 against Vegas, he was 7.1. Week 3 against the Rams, he was 8.7. Last week against Carolina, he was 10.7. So kind of something doesn't quite look right with that Arizona offense. No. So I'm inclined to go London and Hall here.
All right, you sold me. I mean, James Conner, he had an unsustainable touchdown rate last season. He had 18 total touchdowns, rushing touchdowns on the season. So wasn't sustainable as we expected. He started to regress back. I mean, he was. We were taking him late round 3 if he fell there, but he was typically going early to mid round 3, so we didn't get a lot of James Conner exposure, which is right now looking to be the right decision. I like it. I was kind of on the fence, but you sold me on Breece Hall. So go London, go Hall, Bali, and wheels up. All right, Eric Carr, thank you for tuning in, Eric. So spoiler alert, we're going to talk about Tyler Boyd a little bit later in the show. Do we trust T. Higgins with the ankle injuries? No, I never trust players with ankle injuries because especially a guy like T. Higgins when he's lining up against Jamar Chase, and when they have a very talented slot wide receiver in Tyler Boyd, they don't need to push it for Chase or for T. Higgins. The thing that worries me the most, Mike, it sounds like he's trying to play, but this is the Sunday night game.
Yeah.
So if T. Higgins, by some miracle, doesn't end up playing and you don't have a backup choice for him, you're screwed. So, Eric, it's really about who your other choices are. So if you have viable options, hit us up in the chat. Let us know who you're looking to start over T. Higgins, and we'll give you an answer here. Because the thing is that he's not just a 50-50 type ball player, right? If you watch any of his games, if you watch, I know Mike says sometimes you don't like to watch the games, but if you watch the games, he's winning in different ways. So it could be a chase game, and maybe that's the play. It's going to be a chase game, but okay. So then another injured player. Where are we at on Gabe Davis? Another week healthy. He played last week. I like Gabe Davis this week, man. I think Gabe Davis is he's going to step it up. Jen, thanks for tuning in. We missed you too, Jen. I'm going to say, yeah. Do we trust T. Higgins? The answer is probably a little bit. But if you have better choices, you can start T. Higgins.
Yeah, I think with T. Higgins, what you need to do is try and figure out what your better options are at wide receiver, slide him down into your flex, and hopefully there's somebody out on the wire, or you have somebody on your bench who's either playing the Sunday night game or the Monday night game. And we should get final injury report. I know we would have gotten their Sunday night. Never mind. We would have gotten their final injury report yesterday. Their last real practice. So, and he's questionable. So
that's what I'm saying. You're not going to know. The thing is going up against the Ravens, we've seen it. The Ravens' pass defense has been atrocious, right? They've been unable to hang on to leads. And man, T. Higgins could just absolutely feast against the Ravens. So it hurts me. That's a tough one, man. It's really going to be a gut call. Generally speaking, if he's going to play, you could probably trust it. But if you have a better choice, just let us know what it is. Okay, I'm going to get into actually talk about a player as my first flex play that week. My Bateman is out, brother. Which means, is it Devin Duvernay season going up against the Bengals? Okay, so the one thing I will say is Duvernay is expected to go up against Eli Apple, who is a 61st rated quarterback on the season. AKA, he's not a very good player. What do we know about Devin Duvernay? He was a track star when he was in school. And we often don't see that just general athleticism at the wide receiver position translate, into the NFL. But we are actually finally starting to see it this year. And we know that Lamar Jackson likes a speed guy, right? Marquise Brown was the speedster last year. Devin Duvernay was kind of a redundant asset at that point, but now he's the guy. We know Rashad Damien is a stud, but he's not a speedster. Duvernay, 4.39 speed. Lamar Jackson is playing at an MVP level, and guess what? He's actually being hyper efficient. And here's the stat that's kind of the kicker to me. Devin Duvernay is the number one player in fantasy football right now in terms of fantasy points per target when they're going up against man. And now the Bengals in general, they rank 9th in playing man coverage versus zone, which is, it's not bad. But against the Ravens are the number one team that teams play against man. Why is that? Probably because they're going to be protecting against Lamar Jackson. So, the Ravens have faced man coverage 43.8% of the time on the season per PFF. This is going to be a very boom. I don't think it's going to be a bust. I think it's a pretty safe flow with Rashad Bateman out. But I think we should expect Devin Duvernay's targets from 5-6 per week up to 7-8 per week. And we know it's just his explosive ability and his ability to beat defensive coverages deep and Lamar's propensity to throw deep. Devin Duvernay could put up a 16, 17 point week this week, and he's pretty much free. He might even be available on your waiver wire. So Devin Duvernay, I think, is going to be an absolute smash this week. And again, go over to the mother channel for the DFS Army plays, or for the DFS plays of the week. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to have Devin Duvernay in some of my lineups if I'm playing that Sunday night slate.
Yeah, and Eric Carr, the guy that was asking a question before, go on your wire right now and see if Duvernay's out there. That's a Sunday night game. So if you get Christian Kirk in your flex, move him. Yeah, I would do that. I would put Christian Kirk in as your wide receiver too, and then you can flex Hunt or you can flex T. Higgins. We might get some more information today about his injury status. I kind of doubt that we will, but it also depends on kind of where you're at, where your matchup is. If you're projected to be kind of neck and neck, then I would put in Hunt because I think Hunt's going to have a pretty good game. I think that, I think you're looking at like 13 to 15 points out of him. If you need the upside home run, like if you're a huge dog, then I might roll the dice and go Higgins. But I would definitely go on your waiver wire and see if Duvernay's out there. Grab him.
I would say if you can get him, just get him, protect it. And there you go. He just picked up Duvernay. That's beautiful.
Good man.
Great game. And good luck, brother. Good luck. Give me your second flex play of the week, Mike Dickinson.
My second flex play of the week is, so the edict was give me three flexes and one dirty skanky one. This one's going to feel kind of dirty and skanky, but it's not my dirty skanky one. My second flex play of the week is as a collective group, the New England Patriots running backs. So I think that you can, if you have either one of them, you feel good about flexing either one of them. Looking at everything that we got going on here, we have a rookie quarterback, a 4th round rookie quarterback who was the 3rd string quarterback, is making his first NFL start. We got a Matt Patricia revenge game narrative going on, going up against the pencil against the kneecap biter. I actually think it's going to be a decent game, and I think this is a game where the Lions team and that Lions staff really needs to kind of prove that they're for real. They've been competitive. That team has a lot of grit, but they have something to prove against these Patriots. And looking at the pace with which the Lions play, I mean, between the Lions and the Seahawks, they put up 93 points last week. That's absolutely insane. So I think what you're going to see Belichick, Patricia, and the Patriots do is slow down the pace of the game. I was joking before, but I think that we could legitimately see a run-pass split like we saw that New England Buffalo game last year, where it was a torrential downpour and Mac Jones threw 3 times. I don't think Bailey Zappi is going to throw 3 times. I think you could look at 35-40 combined rushes between Stevenson and Harris. And it kind of looks like the backfield has consolidated down into those two. Stevenson is actually getting a larger snap share than Harris is. Stevenson is in the 60% range. Harris is down in that 40-45% range. But what you see is Harris is getting the higher value touches, the short yardage touches, the goal line touches. So the TD upside is there every single week. Stevenson is a really solid PPR flex play. And I think either one of them, you're good to go. On my Scott Fishbowl team, I went up against the guy I went up against had Russell Wilson in his lineup. Russell Wilson put up negative points. So in my lineup, I'm benching Daniel Jones this week in favor of Damien Harris.
I think that's a sharp play. I mean, the Detroit Lions so far on the season rank 3rd worst in terms of rush yards allowed per game. They are currently sitting at 165 rush yards allowed per game to the opposing team. We do know that, like, I gotta say, honestly, man, Bailey Zappi, for his part, he actually looked pretty respectable. And I think it's funny. People were talking about it all week this week, so I don't want to, totally talk about it. But just the fact that when you were betting on which rookie quarterback was going to throw the first touchdown on the season, probably had pretty good odds that it wasn't going to be Bailey Zappi. So, give respect to him. He took the middling Green Bay Packers to overtime last week. Kudos, brother. Kudos. I like it, man. Actually, before you told me who you wanted to start last night, I had Ramondre Stevenson as one of my flex plays. So the fact that we're kind of on the same page there makes sense. Look, I don't think it's going to be like the 3 pass plays game that they played against the Bills in that insane storm last season. But legitimately speaking, I think Bailey Zappi could throw 14, 15 times this week, and they're just going to absolutely rely on their run team. Which probably means if you have any of these receivers, I know I've got Jacoby Myers in a few PPR leagues. I'm really reluctant to start any of these Patriots players unless I'm absolutely desperate. And listen, there's a lot of injuries. We just named it off at the start of the show. There's a lot of starting players that are injured, especially in these deeper leagues, in your dynasty leagues. You might have to, but I don't really recommend it. I'm starting Devonta Parker in one league and Jacoby Myers in another league. That could be like just a double lose. That could just be, like the game show losing sound. That's just it's not going to be pretty, but yeah, exactly. So I'm on board with that. I'm on board with that one. Okay, so I'm going to go to a fellow AFC East team, and I'm going to talk about either Isaiah McKenzie or Khalil Shakir. Now, as of right now, we know that Jamison Crowder is out because he broke his foot. He broke his ankle, so he's going to be out. We don't know definitively if Isaiah McKenzie is going to be in or out because Isaiah McKenzie is dealing with the concussion. So this is a big if Isaiah McKenzie doesn't play, then obviously Stephon Diggs is going to just have a cake matchup this week. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Gabe Davis, he hopefully is going to be healthier, but we do know that Josh Allen has a love for passing to the slot. So Isaiah McKenzie, Jamison Crowder haven't really been viable plays because they cannibalize each other in the slot. But Isaiah McKenzie, he's received 13.5% target share in the season, and Jamison Crowder an 8.4%. You combine those together, if we're talking about just one single slot wide receiver, that's around a 20 to 21% target share on the season, which is beautiful. That's probably it's the target share you look for in a solid wide receiver too. Again, Khalil Shakir is probably out there. He was one of our waiver wire targets of this week, again, as like a 1 week kind of play. And here's the thing about Khalil Shakir, okay, because Isaiah McKenzie, I think people know about him. They've seen him in games. And if McKenzie's in, it's the thing with the concussion is that you have one or you don't have one, right? If he's clear from the concussion, it's not like the Tua situation. He's going to be clear, right? Because they're actually handling it the way they should handle it. But Khalil Shakir, of course, he was a 5th round pick by the Buffalo Bills from Boise State. In college, as a college whole, Mike, he had a 32.2% target share, which was a 95th percentile, and also a 40.8% college dominator rating. Again, college dominator rating is a percentage for the wide receiver of receiving yards and receiving touchdowns, which means he counted for almost half of the total offensive production. When Khalil Shakir came in for limited snaps last week, when both of the slot players were knocked out, he looked good. The Buffalo Bills lead the league in pass completions and rank 3rd in pass attempts. I love the idea that Khalil Shakir can come in, pretty much just dominate. If he's going to get 5-6 targets, because again, like the top 2 dogs are going to get those targets, but in PPR leagues especially, you could trust Khalil Shakir or Isaiah McKenzie to get you 10, 11 points, which as a wide receiver 3 or a flex play is a very, very solid play. So it's a little bit deep, it's a little bit skanky, but Khalil Shakir, if Isaiah McKenzie's in, for sure, I love starting Isaiah McKenzie. What do you think about that play?
I mean, yeah, you feel good about either one of those guys. You see McKenzie put up production, and Khalil Shakir was somebody that kind of popped on our radar and as we work through the draft process. So I like the profile on him. Obviously you touched on his dominator rating. He's proven that he can do it. The other thing that you like about this is that Dawson Knox has been ruled out. So it's really you're really looking at 3 pass. Well, I mean 4 pass. All they're going to do is freaking pass. I mean, Steph Diggs is locked and loaded. Gabe Davis is still questionable. He's going to go. He went last week, but Josh Allen loves the slot with no tight end coming out of the slot over the middle there. It's good. You might see a slight uptick in pass targets for Devin Singletary, but I love it. I love this. I love it.
Okay, we got one from Bali here. Rank these 3: Gabriel Davis, Curtis Samuel, and Devonta Smith.
Well, two of the 3 are dinged up. Davis has a designation, and Curtis Samuel has a designation. Samuel's got the illness, so if you see him clear on Sunday, he would probably be my first out of those 3. I would probably go Samuel, Davis, and then Devonta Smith, I think.
I mean, with Jahan Dotson out, Curtis Samuel is going to just continue to get those targets. And Jahan Dotson hasn't received a ton of targets per game, maybe 3 or 4 per game, but he's getting in the end zone. So maybe those can go to Curtis Samuel, maybe they'll go to TMC. It's hard to say, but of this one, I'd probably go Curtis Samuel, Devonta Smith, Gabe Davis. Is that what you had too, Mike?
I had Davis ahead of Smith, just because I think that if Davis goes, he's going to be the number 2 target. The number 2 pass target in that offense. I think this week Smith is looking at the number 3 option. Arizona is terrible against the tight end, so I think obviously AJ Brown has a big game. I think Dallas Goedert's going to have a big game. So just because Devonta Smith is that he's the 3rd look there. But again, we've seen his upside. We've also seen what happens when teams roll coverage to AJ Brown. Mm-hmm. We saw that Hurts is not afraid to go to Smith. So this is another one of those. If you need the upside, then I would put Smith over Davis.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I mean, you look at Devonta Smith so far on the season, and I mean, he's pretty much on every single snap. He's got 96% week 1, 99 week 2, 89, and then 87. Week 3 is really where he blew up against the Commanders, and he received 12 targets, but every other week he's received either 7 or under. So is he really that reliable on a weekly basis? It's hard to say. It could be a Dallas Goedert type week. So I get it, but I still don't trust Gabe Davis. He's only getting a 13 to 15% target share every single week. So it's going to be touchdown or bust. Obviously, he blew up week 1, but the risk I see with Gabe Davis is he's either going to put up 17 points for you or like 6 points for you. And to me, that's just too risky. Whereas Devonta Smith has a far more defined role within the offense. And I like to think that this game is going to be one of the higher scoring games. I mean, we talked about it already, but the over-under for the game is 48.5, and the Eagles are favored as a 26.75 implied team total. So, yes,
yeah, all right, you
can could be a Goddard. It could be a Goddard game, but it's too risky with Gabe Davis, especially in PPR leagues. You got to trust the opportunity. Okay, so I'm going to move on to my second flex play on the week, and it's probably going to. Well, actually, no, you go. I already just talked about Shakir. Give me your third guy.
Okay. All right, so my third guy,
Yeah.
we touched on this a little bit. My third guy is Tyler Boyd. So again, looking at what's going on with T. Higgins. T. Higgins is questionable coming in. Obviously, he was in the blow up spot last week. He put up some huge numbers. But looking at the strength of the Baltimore secondary, is on the perimeter, and Tyler Boyd plays almost 90% of his snaps out of the slot. So you love the matchup he's going to get. He's going to see. I mean, that's Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters are two very, very familiar household names. They're both aging a little bit, but they're still pretty good as far as NFL perimeter cornerbacks go. So Boyd's going to see a lot of Brandon Stevens on the interior there, and he's given up a decent amount of production. Obviously, Boyd is a play. He's not put up a ton of numbers this year so far, but he's one of those plays for me who's very, very matchup dependent. And when the matchup dictates like it does this week, he's somebody that I'm putting in and starting. If you see Higgins sit, I have on my Higgins teams, I jumped ADP and I handcuffed Higgins with Boyd. Not that you ever have a true wide receiver handcuff, but if you see Higgins sit, then Boyd is locked and loaded. And I think even if Higgins goes, Boyd still has a decent chance to produce.
Yeah, I mean, again, the biggest risk with T. Higgins going is that he's going to just play the decoy role, and that worries me a little bit. Okay, we got a question from DJ Nightmare 14. He's asking, I got an offer from my Connor, I'm assuming James Conner, for David Montgomery. No, you shouldn't do this one, and the reason you shouldn't do it is because Khalil Herbert is actually good. He actually is good. And we know that generally speaking, they like to rely on a single running back, but just based on the fact that Montgomery is coming back from the injury, and the fact that, again, Khalil Herbert is explosive. We saw what he did 2 weeks ago when he filled in for Montgomery. I would definitely not do this one. Arizona, to your point, Mike, they don't look good, but I think they're going to get it right, and then the touchdowns are going to come for James Conner.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree. Now, the one caveat to this would be, I'm not sure, DJ, if you roster Khalil Herbert. If you roster Khalil Herbert, then consolidating that Chicago backfield is not a terrible idea. But in general, I tend to be leery of straight up positional swaps. Like if somebody offers me an RB for an RB, unless I have a handcuff on my bench or something like that, I generally tend to stay away from them because they're trying to get something over on you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we got a question from Nick Perrone. Should I play Alan Lazard or Tyler Lockett, Gerald Everett, or Tyler Conklin?
Oof. I think I'm going Lockett and Everett in this situation.
Brother, I still love Ty Conklin. I have a really hard time sitting Tyler Conklin, but Gerald Everett is look good too. But no, I'm leaning Tyler Conklin. He's I believe after this week he's the tight end 8. Actually, I pretty much have Tyler Conklin every single week on my my Fab report. Yeah, so I mean he finished as a tight end 8. He continues to have at least an 80% snap share in every single week. The question is always going to be, is Zach Wilson going to be able to maintain his fantasy relevance? And, well, we saw a dip last week, so maybe the answer is no. But, I mean, what do you think? What's the case for Gerald Everett?
Keenan Allen's not playing, and Josh Palmer's hurt. So it could be, and I have I'll talk about this with my last flex play, but I think that it legitimately could be that Gerald Everett is the second or third look in that passing game. So you look at
what about the fact that so Donald Parham has missed most of the season? He's going to be back in week 5. Does that worry you at all?
No, not really, because you've seen the rapport that Everett's established with Justin Herbert. They brought Everett in for a reason this offseason, and it seems that their thinking behind bringing him in has borne itself out. So he's been productive in the passing game. He's been an outlet for him. The receivers, Keenan Allen's been out of the lineup. Obviously, Palmer's hurt. Guyton's down on IR. So, I mean, and Williams is kind of streaky. He is what he is. It seems like the stability in the passing game has been Everett and has been Austin Eckler. So, I mean, Conklin's always there. The Zach Wilson wildcard thing, if Flacco was playing, I would say Conklin for sure over Everett. But I don't know what Zach Wilson's going to do.
Okay. So you said Lockett, though, over Lazard?
Yeah, I think so. I think this shapes out to be a Lockett week. I was looking at some wide receiver cornerback matchups. Yeah, so Lockett gets Paulson Adebu most of the time. So he is #not good. He's giving up a ton of production. DK is probably going to get a lot of Marshawn Lattimore, and then the Marquise Goodwin is not seeing. He's getting 8% target share. So the slot really isn't an option there. New Orleans run defense is relatively stout, so I think that Lockett has a good game this week. Yep.
What a world with Geno Smith actually looks good, man. I gotta say, people have been so quick to just stab Russ in the back, man. Like, all the Seattle Seahawks players, there was a little bit of a dig where Pete Carroll came out this week and said, hey, our quarterback's doing what we're asking him to do. As in to say that Russell Wilson wasn't. It's not good. But no, I still probably lean Tyler Conklin, but I get it. Maybe Gerald Everett's a little bit of a safer play. So let's go Tyler Lockett. Let's go Gerald Everett. Okay, so DJ Nightmare does have Khalil Herbert on his bench. Then
I would probably take it then.
See, I'm going to go opposite here. I'm going to go against you, Mike, here.
Okay.
To me, the conservative play is to take the trade. But, I mean, if you want to win your league, DJ Nightmare, you have to take a little bit of a risk here. Wouldn't it be better if there was a bit of a stock split where you have Khalil Herbert, you can start him every single week as a flex play, and then James Conner, you're comfortable starting as your RB2, versus you're never going to start Montgomery and Herbert at the same week, right? Like it's just a low EV type play. So you're going to have to roster one of those players on your bench. Then there's the carrying cost that's going to be associated. So you're basically, the conservative play is to take the trade and get David Montgomery, who has looked good when he was healthy, but he's coming off the injury. And I'm still going to lean keeping James Conner, just based on the fact that I like the offense. The offense is way better. Chicago Bears are hot dumpster fire right now. Do we really want to tie up that backfield? I don't. So I'm still sticking with James Conner. I get the handcuffing idea, but I'm going for the win, baby.
Yeah. Here's the other thing you could do. Well, I was going to say you could try and flip Herbert to him for a piece. If you're weak at receiver, or maybe you could get him to throw Montgomery and another piece in for Conner or something like that. So if you can use it to strengthen your team, Shane, I completely get what you're saying. I agree. And now that you say it, I agree with you that having in any given week you could have Conner and Herbert go. That would be ideal. But if you could get him to sweeten the deal a little bit, then maybe that would move the needle for me slightly.
Yeah. So this is personal experience of mine. Okay. So I had Brandon Ayuk in a 0.5 PPR league, and I also have Cam Akers. Now, the Darrell Henderson manager, I ended up doing a trade for Darrell Henderson. This was, I think, after week 2. Really, the play was being, okay, one of these guys should emerge as a top RB, but what if they don't? And now I literally am so this is a short bench. It's a 5-person bench. I now have both James Conner and Darrell Henderson on my bench, guys that are probably too good to drop, not good enough to play. Now I have that carrying cost. And that's a mistake. You learn through your mistakes. At the time, it made sense. Again, right? You're kind of banking on one of these guys is going to emerge. If you think that Khalil Herbert's going to emerge, then what are you doing trading for David Montgomery? If you don't, that's when you try to trade Khalil Herbert to the David Montgomery manager and see if you can get something other than trading away your James Conner, because James Conner is just too valuable, and you don't want to be trading for a committee back, because I think that's what it's going to devolve to. Okay, we got one shot. Happy coming in here. He's a longtime Army member. Thank you, One Shot. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in to the Fantasy Football Show. Jared Goff or Jimmy G? Who you got?
I think I got to go Goff here. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I think I have to.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going Jared Goff here. Listen, Jimmy G, there's just no upside. We know what Jimmy G is. And yes, Jared Goff could lay an egg against the Patriots this week. But here's the thing. The Patriots have actually not been very good. Their cornerbacks are just not very good. So even with Amon-Ra St. Brown, no big deal. if you think that, maybe the Patriots will shut down TJ Hawkinson because they actually do have pretty solid linebackers, but I don't know. Amon-Ra could be back this week. DJ Chark could be back this week. I just like the upside of Jared Goff, and what a world we live in. Okay,
he's done it. I will say he's done it.
Yes, he pretty much if you stacked Jared Goff and TJ Hawkinson last week, you won money in DFS. If you had the balls to start him, congratulations. I got a question for you, Mike. So there's a lot of questions out there, and we're trying to talk about fantasy football, but this is like just a general sports question. Is Matthew Stafford worse than Jared Goff? Was it a mistake? And I think people are so quick to forget. Matthew Stafford wasn't throwing the damn ball for what, 3/4 of the offseason?
Yeah.
I guarantee you he's not healthy right now. He's playing through injury. So this narrative that Jared Goff is better than Matthew Stafford just won the bloody Super Bowl. That's his upside.
I don't think that Jared Goff is better than Matthew Stafford. I think that they're both NFL quarterbacks. They're both 32 of the best athletes at their position in the entire world. Stafford does have the UCL. I think he has a partial tear of his UCL, the ulnar collateral ligament, and he's probably going to have to undergo that Tommy John surgery in the offseason. Yeah. He doesn't look right. He hasn't been throwing a lot. He operated very, very well within Sean McVay's system last year, but I think that not having Odell Beckham back has hurt them immensely. They were hoping Allen Robinson could fill that role, and something's just looked off about that whole thing. As an Allen Robinson owner, it pains me, but I just think that that's going to end up being a bad move. If OBJ ends up back there, I think everyone's going to forget about this first half of the season narrative where Matthew Stafford was a bottom 18 quarterback. Now, that said, I have a league. I have Tua, Stafford, and Jameis Winston, and I'm actually picking up Andy Dalton so I can play Dalton over Stafford this week. It feels gross to do it, but I kind of have to do it.
You don't have to do it. That might be overthinking things. Michael Thomas is out too, right?
Yeah, Michael Thomas is out too, but Dalton put up 16 points. I'm just looking for 16 points out of him. Stafford could put up an absolute dud. What did he put up? 8 points last week? And I think they're going up against Dallas this week. Dallas has been pretty stout up front, so they're going to rely on Stafford to throw. He's going to turn the ball over 2-3 times, I think.
Yeah. Okay. You could be right. To me, it might be overthinking it, but
dude, it's completely gross. It's completely gross. But I mean, this is a gross world we live in. I'm playing Brandon too. I'm playing Brandon in this league, so I need to do something.
Shit. Yeah. Okay, you want to talk about? Let's talk about sex appeal. Okay, let's get fun. Let's get exciting. My third flex play of the week is actually going to be that one Rashad White, running back of those Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, we saw last week that he finally was given an opportunity. His role in the offense is starting to improve a little bit. He only had a 38% snap share, but he received 5 targets. He got all 5 targets for 50 yards in a passing game, and he had the red zone opportunities for Leonard Fournette. Fournette's still the guy in this offense, okay, Mike? We're not going to debate that. But if the Buccaneers have any hope of making a playoff run this year, they're going to have to do it with a healthy Leonard Fournette, I think. But Rashad White is electric, okay? In college, he was an absolute stud in the passing game, and just like, when the Bucs brought in Gio Bernard last year, like, we know Tom Brady loves his pass catching running back, and that is exactly what Rashad White is. In his last year in college, in his senior year, he had 43 receptions for 456 yards, which added to his 1,006 rush yards for 15 touchdowns. His usage is continuing to increase every single week, and like I said, he's up to 38%. I believe this week, Tampa Bay going up against Atlanta. Atlanta's an absolute dumpster fire. Chris Godwin's going to be back, which I think is a mistake. They just got to sit the damn guy. But Rashad White's usage is going to continue to improve. I want to get it up to maybe a 45%. That's where I'd be a little bit more comfortable here. But in a flex play, and guess what? Spoiler alert, we talked about Scott Fishbowl. I'm starting Rashad White this week in my Scott Fishbowl league because I need upside, baby. I need upside. And Rashad White has that massive upside. When you talk about who he looks like, who he plays similar to, none other than the electric David Johnson. Okay. The one thing I will say is that David Johnson, obviously, as he got a little bit older, his upward style running ability, you saw him. He was amazing for like 2 or 3 seasons, and then he fell off the map. Right. Rashad White could be that quick bang type flash in the pan type player, but right now he's young, he's healthy, he's electric, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers aren't looking great. They're going to continue to use this rookie who, just based on the fact, again, he received 5 targets last week, Mike, tells me that Tom Brady is slowly letting him enter that circle of trust.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
and I think that this is a huge get-right game for Tampa Bay. They've not looked good all season. There's a ton of shit circling around in the on the page 6 about Tom Brady and Giselle, all that kind of stuff.
God.
I think that Tom Brady just takes all that, funnels it, channels it, and I think that this is an absolute. I think that they absolutely embarrass Atlanta this week. The other thing you like too is that Cameron Brate's already been ruled out with the concussion. So. And I think I agree with you that bringing Godwin back right now is not the best move. I think Evans is going to have an absolutely huge game this week, but I think that Rashad White is going to be that second look, and I think we're going to see a snap share jump up. I think that Rashad White is going to get some good looks in the pass game this week.
I love it. Okay, give me your deep play. I'll give you mine, and we'll get the hell out of here, brother.
All right, so my deep play is on the Los Angeles Chargers. I almost said San Diego Chargers. I apologize to all those involved with the organization. Not that they really give a shit. So we talked about it. Keenan Allen's already been ruled out. Jalen Guyton is down on IR. Josh Palmer's been dealing with the ankle this week, so I am looking to none other than DeAndre Carter for my down and dirty flex play of the week.
God.
What? It didn't have to be pretty. It was supposed to be skanky.
It was supposed to be skanky. Yes, I get it.
Yes. Yeah, so it was supposed to be skanky. You look at he's going up against Greg Newsome in the slot for Cleveland there, and he's been kind of middle of the road. There's been a ton of production that's run through Keenan Allen, but you saw, what was it, week 1 or week 2, where DeAndre Carter had that huge game. And he's put up numbers. Justin Herbert trusts him. This offense is, I think that they need to go on a little bit of a run here. Everybody's contending in that AFC West. I think the division kind of is what we thought it was going to be, where it's hyper competitive. So they're right there. They need to start stacking up wins. And I think they're just going to keep their foot on the gas the entire game. So I think that if you need 11 to 13 points out of a flex spot, I think in a PPR league, I think you could do a lot worse than DeAndre Carter.
There you go, DeAndre Carter. Plug your damn nose. Okay, plug my nose a little bit. And now this isn't a pure nose plug, but I'm going to talk about probably the hottest waiver wire ad this week, and that was Tyler Algier. Atlanta Falcons. We know Kyle Pitts is out. It's going to be the Drake London show. We get it, but I think they're going to give the rookie running back an opportunity here. So one thing is that, again, going against Tampa Bay might make you a little bit worried to start your running back, because last year they were elite. They were, I think, the worst or the best rushing defense in the league. They're not quite there yet. They're still allowing over around 106 rush yards per week to the running back position, which isn't elite, but it's middle of the pack. So oftentimes when you look at matchups, Mike, you want to look at the extremes, the best teams, top 5 and the bottom 5. Everything else is still the NFL, and teams have found a way to rush on the Buccaneers this season. Tyler Algier, he's a bowling ball, okay? That's what he is. He's a bowling ball type player. In college, he was late to the running back game. He started as a linebacker, so the guy is stout. He likes to take hits. He likes to give hits. But in his final season, where he actually broke out, he had over 1,600 rushing yards, and he also scored 23 touchdowns, which was tied for first in the NCAA last year, Mike. All he has to do is beat out Caleb Huntley, which I think he should be able to do handedly. Yeah. I worry that this Atlanta coaching staff is incompetent, and they give it like a 50-50 share. Tyler Algier is the kind of player that he gets better as the game goes on. He's the type of player that wears down defenses. He's 5'11", he's 221 pounds. He's a wrecking ball. So if we can trust the Atlanta coaching staff, which is a big if you have to decide, because listen, you probably went out and spent 25 to 30% of your fab budget this weekend to get Tyler Algier, and you're like, oh shit, they're going up against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think it's a safe play in your flex spot. I think that you're banking on the touchdown. It's probably going to be a Drake London week, but they're going to have to do something, because right now Marcus Mariota is hot garbage. You got to trust the running offense. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I think that the ironic part is that Arthur Smith came from an offense in Tennessee where he had a running back that needed runway, that needed to get going, who got better as the game went on. But it seems like he's been hesitant to do that with Algier. And I get that he's had Patterson, he likes Patterson, but just reading that Caleb Huntley could potentially get goal line touches is absolutely asinine to me. Algier is the definition of who you want in there as a short yardage banger. So I agree with you, Shane. I think that it's going to be an Algier game. I don't know that it's going to be a full breakout for him, but could you see 25 carries for 83 yards and a touchdown? Absolutely. And in a flex spot, you're getting 14 and change out of it. I think that's great. That's all you could hope for.
Yeah, listen, I think we've seen it with all the rookies so far, the rookie running backs in particular, because it takes time for these guys to gain the trust of the coaching staff. And we've seen a few guys, like we saw Rashad White fumble it last week. It was the first play of the game. And then they eventually, they still trusted him enough to give him the opportunities. James Cook of the Buffalo Bills, he has done absolutely nothing for the team. I think it's a trust thing. Again, he fumbled. I think he's fumbled twice. They recovered a second one, but the first one he lost. So these are ways that you're not going to become in the good books of the coaching staff. Tyler Algier, when he's had the opportunity, he's looked pretty decent. I have of the opinion that he's a superior player to Caleb Huntley. And we know that Atlanta likes to rely on the running game with Cordell Patterson. So Cordell Patterson's out. It was a mistake to play him last week. Again, stupid coaching staff, but I guess give him credit for trying to go for the win. Okay, really quickly here, Mike, before we get out of there, I want to talk about just two viable flex plays. Well, not flex plays, streamer plays at the tight end position if you have Kyle Pitts, because oftentimes you're probably not going to be rostering two tight ends. The top 13 guys are probably off the wire, but really quickly, Will Dissly, Seattle, again, going up against the Saints. Noah Fant has been useless. He's outsnapped Fant in 3 out of the 4 games in the season, and he's got a TD in 3 out of the 4 games on the season, and he's received 12 targets total. So again, it's risky. With these types of tight end plays, it's going to be you want 3 for 30 plus a touchdown. Like that's what you're going for. Will Dissly offers that. And the next player is Robert Tanyan. Robert Tanyan is kind of off the people's radar, especially in the offseason, just because he was coming back from the injury. But so far throughout the season, he has looked good. And he has 24th. He's 24th in route runs, which isn't great, which means he's basically blocking for half of his plays and running routes on the other half. But when he is being used is in the red zone. He's 8th in terms of red zone targets with 4. He's caught 3 of his red zone targets. And again, you're just banking on that touchdown upside. And Rodgers is number 1 in target accuracy or close to the top in target accuracy when targeting the tight end position. So Robert Tanyan, he's playing with a bunch of children out there. I think he's going to get in the box this week in London. London's calling, baby.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, we tend to get skanky with the tight ends. So I've
go.
actually this year's been so gross. I've actually rostered 2 tight ends in some spots. I'm ashamed to say.
Yeah. Okay, we got one last one for One Shot Happy because, hey, listen, One Shot, we appreciate you. Jeff Wilson or Damien Harris? It's got to be Jeff Wilson, right?
Yeah, Jeff Wilson. Yep.
Yeah. And if I sit Jimmy G, I think I should go Jeff Wilson. I think you should go Jeff Wilson anyways, and probably sit Jimmy G because, well, it's Jimmy G.
Jared Goff's better.
There you go. Jared Goff is better. All right, guys.
Who thought we would ever say that?
Oh, my God. I know. Okay. So, of course, give us a follow on Twitter at DFS Army. You can follow myself, Flex Shane, at the Flex Network 1. You can follow Mike at Mike_Dickinson. Mike, we're going to get you on the program a little bit more often, more regularly once again. You had some life things. We get it. Life happens. Yeah. But listen, as there's some normalcy, we need Mike Dickinson in our life. You come on the show and you bring the hard-hitting facts. So we appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Go check out DFSArmy.com. Our VIPs are winning money every single week. DFSArmy.com, DFSArmy.com. So for Mike, I'm Flex Shane, and we are the DFS Army Fantasy Football Show. Good luck in week 5.
Start taking.